Now check this. There were no fresh admissions at Korle Bu and Komfo Anokye teaching hospitals respectively on day 2 of a strike action by over 10 labor unions here in Ghana. Meanwhile, the Labor Ministry is furious at the unions for again failing to show up for a meeting. This is today's big story with me, Prince Minka. Welcome to the program. Well, earlier today, doctors at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital here in Accra, and of course, Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital in Kumasi, and of course, the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital served notice that they would stop the admission of new patients from today. Well, at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital, doctors joined the strike by public sector workers over management of their Tier 2 pensions funds. Well, the doctors were at post on Wednesday when a nationwide strike action was declared, but only attended to emergency cases as of today. Well, Joy News' Beatrice Adu was at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital and the Ridge Hospital earlier on today here in Accra, and I spoke to her earlier. This is actually her observation. We can now speak to Beatrice Adu, Joy News reporter who's been on the beat. Of course, you've been to Korle Bu Teaching Hospital and Ridge Hospital. What's been happening there?
Let me start with Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. At the time I visited the facility, which was in the morning, Korle Bu was generally, quiet compared to how you know Korle Bu to be, especially when you get to the compound and then when you get to the main OPD, which is the OPD for medicine. At the main OPD for medicine, there was no patient there and no doctor, no nurse. I was there yesterday. I saw a number of patients. I saw a number of nurses and doctors working. And at the point where these nurses and doctors were sitting, the tables were just empty, and they had just turned the chairs to face these tables. It's interesting, but when you get out of the OPD and you get to the ENT department, you realize that there are lots of patients there, and there were doctors also attending to them as well as nurses. I also moved on to the children's department and I saw a number of patients as well as nurses and doctors. So I would say that the doctors and nurses at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital rather partially complied with this strike. Okay,
what about notices? Because as we know, with the various strike actions that we've seen in this country, usually there are notices indicating that, of course, there's a strike action. Is that a situation where you went to?
As in notices on the wall? There was no such notice on the wall. I actually looked around to find out whether I could find any. There were no notices. But when I stepped out, especially at the OPD, I saw a number of frustrated patients, and you could see nobody had to tell you that these were frustrated patients. They told me that they had been turned away even though they were sick.
Were they aware of the strike action at all?
I don't think they were, because when I spoke to them, they said they didn't know. They only walked in and they were told by the health personnel that the doctors were not working, and so they had to go away. One woman who told me she had breast cancer and had actually gone to the hospital for a surgery. She came all the way from Keta and she had to go back because the doctors were on strike and are still on strike.
Okay, but how different was it at the Ridge Hospital?
Ridge Hospital, I didn't get any official confirmation that they were either on partial strike or they were fully embarking on the strike. But through my observation, I realized that when you get to the OPD, which is actually at the main entrance, there were only a few nurses and doctors around, a few patients, compared to yesterday when I saw a number of them. In fact, some of them were even lying on the chairs whilst they were receiving drips. But today the situation was different. There were a few patients and just a few nurses and doctors. I went on to speak to one of the administrators at the hospital. He gave his name as Awag Badek, and he told me that he had not spoken to the professional unions to find out whether or not they had started their strike. So he wasn't aware, and that he will get the confirmation, and as and when he's able to get that, he will let us know.
Okay, Beatrice, thank you very much for talking to us. We still continue today's big story. We can now speak to the Employment and Labor, Deputy Employment and Labor Minister, Honorable Baba Jamal. Honorable, thank you very much for joining us on Big Story.
Thank you very much.
Very well. Before we go on to the interview, I would want you to stay on the phone lines and listening to some of the frustrated patients that were turned away at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. We can now listen.
You can see people, many people are there. They came to treatment and they said we should go home. The doctors have gone to strike. So that's why we are all going. We came around 6 o'clock. Because of they said there's no doctors working, so we have to go.
You're holding your folder. Who gave you the folder?
And I brought my mommy. The one nurse can just give us the folder that we should go.
How are you feeling?
Oh, we are feeling bad. We are feeling bad. We are feeling bad. People are sick and people came and they said they have returned them to home, so they should go.
What's wrong with your mom?
She's having a cancer.
The doctors in strike.
You said they are on strike. I am a patient. I have come. That is why I'm going away.
How are you feeling? You've come to the hospital and there's no doctor to take care of you.
That's why I'm going back to the house to rest. I'm not well. If you are sick and you come and you can't see the doctor, what do you say? That's all.
Honorable Baba Jamal, this is an obvious suggestion, per what we heard, that the strike is beginning to have an effect on people here in Ghana.
I hope that you will call the labor union leaders and also play these voices to them to let them understand that when you are in a country of law, you ensure that you go according to the laws of the country and not to cause unnecessary pain and suffering to your own kinsmen.
How unnecessary is this when they've stated their issues?
No. It is not about just stating your issues. It's about following the law if you want to strike. We have rules and regulations in this country, and if you want to go on a strike, they are laid down procedures according to the Labor Act, Section 159, who tells you that you must follow certain steps, giving notice, going through the Labor Commission, and all those steps are there for us as a country to be guided by that. So as I talk to you now, you are calling me from my office. We are still waiting for them. All efforts to get them to the table to talk has failed.
Why has it failed? Is it because they don't seem to trust you? Is that what you're thinking? That could be the situation?
I mean, we have been having meetings with them since we took over as ministers in this ministry. My minister, Haruna, has shown clear determination to ensure that this matter is resolved. And you see, their action is very, 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 shows a lot of bad faith, because we have had a meeting with them only some 3-4 weeks ago, and we all agreed at that meeting, because the issue was raised, to have another meeting. And that another meeting is where we wrote a letter to them on the 14th, 2 letters, requesting to meet with the general secretaries of their unions, and also to have meetings with the scheme managers of the unions the second day, 21st and 22nd, all in an effort to ensure a speedy resolution of this matter.
Now you say
and for 1 week, yes. Can I finish? For
Please
1 week, they never responded to our letter until the day they are supposed to come for the meeting. They go on air and say we are striking, without giving any notice, without giving making any effort. We have not reached a deadlock. In this matter, we have not reached a deadlock. So if they choose to go on an illegal strike and take the law into their hands and cause suffering to the people of this country, I think that it's about time the people of this country rise up and let know that labor cannot, and I must say that, and should not take the law into their hands and do what they want. Okay,
now kindly let me into what would have been the agenda for this meeting, which never came on. Surely we'll be joined by yes.
It was a one-purpose meeting to discuss the second tier,
yes,
and continue with the discussion on the second tier. It was a one-agenda meeting.
And how were you intending addressing the matter? Because already they've raised some legal issues. I mean, pointing to the fact that government...
Look, when you raise issues and you don't come to the table, how do you resolve it?
You
can only resolve the issues when you are around the table, when you sit down and talk and bring your point. We made some progress. At first, they were against even government imposing Pension Alliance Trust on them and all those things. Those ones we've all discussed, and we've moved positions. We're coming very close to resolution. So what baffles me is that why are they refusing to come and sit around the table? Why are they doing that?
So now that they've refused to come and sit with you and address this matter, which is obviously affecting all of us in this country, how does government intend dealing with the situation so that it doesn't get worse?
The first thing is that the strike is illegal, and they all know that. And we enjoin all workers of this country to go on with their normal business and defy this strike. That is the first thing. Every worker is obliged not, in fact, it is not under any obligation to respect the directive from their leadership. The second thing is that, as I tell you, since 3 days now, we are still in the office waiting for them. Last 3 days, we left the office almost 8 o'clock. Today, yesterday, the same thing. Today, both my minister and myself, we are in the office waiting for them to come for us to talk. So if we are open to talk, we are prepared to sit down with them. We want to assure the whole nation that we have not reached any deadlock. We have not. And for that matter, we were almost getting there. And they surprised us with this,
Honorable Baba Jamal.
This strike.
Yes, Honorable Baba Jamal, how should these assurances mean to the patients who went to Korle Bu Teaching Hospital today and were obviously not treated? How should it mean to...
This question you are posing to me, you are being very unfair to me.
Because I'm wondering...
What does that mean?
Because I'm wondering how you're going to solve this when already these labor unions have taken an entrenched position, stemming from the fact that they probably do not trust you. Maybe they don't trust you. That's the reason why they've not been at the meeting.
Stop the issue of they don't trust us. My brother,
so what could
you should be doing your own. Wait, hold on.
What could be the reason?
You should be doing some investigation. They know their reason. If they don't even trust us as you want to assume, there are other processes they can follow.
Which are?
We have other options to take. So the issue here is that if we wait for them and they don't come, of course, there are options to open to us.
What are those options?
Of course, we have legal options. We can go. We will surely report to the Labour Commission, and we'll go on and ensure that the right things are done. So, but we thought we want to take the peaceful option by asking them to come for us to sit down. So what I'm saying is that the Labour must understand that even when you strike for 10 years, you will finally come to the table. So the earlier they come to the table, will resolve the matter, the better it is for all of us. And they must not cause unnecessary suffering to Ghanaians when this issue can be resolved at the table.
But it is beginning to happen. These unnecessary suffering.
Why they don't want to come to the table?
And that's the question I'll put to Ernest Opoku when he joins me on the phone line or in the studio shortly. But let me also find out, you said there are options available to you, options open to government if Labour should continue not to be a part of this meeting which you've proposed. Now, beyond these options, exactly what are you going to do to ensure that the effect of the strike action that we're feeling at this particular moment does not continue? And for how long are you going to wait for these labor unions to come on the table and do a discussion with you?
By tomorrow, we'll start coming out with some measures. And when we come, you will see it.
So tomorrow, for that matter?
I say from tomorrow. Surely we will take some remedial action.
Very well. I want to thank you very much, Honorable Baba Jamal, for talking to us. He's the Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations. Let's talk to a labour expert, Mohammed Mfumu, who also joins us on the line. But we're going to get Ernest Opoku in the studios. He is the president for the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, one of the numerous labour unions that are on strike at this moment. Thanks very much, Mohammed Mfumu, for joining us. Now, it appears both parties, government and these labour unions, have taken an entrenched position. What does this mean?
Well, it means that both parties to the dispute feel their position is the best. and therefore they are not willing to make compromises. But having said that, let me point out that there is something on the ground that will manifest in a meeting between organized labor and the government next Tuesday. Yesterday, organized labor received a letter for a meeting at 2:30 when the letter was received at 2:45. So the meeting could not come on. I know for a fact that organized labor is written to the minister for a meeting on Tuesday so that they will have time to also consult their constituents.
Well, so let me also let you know that the Deputy Employment and Labor Minister just told us that they waited the whole day waiting for these labor unions to show up at a meeting. They never came. And right now, what they're thinking of is some options to deal with the suffering that is being meted out to the public as a result of the strike action.
I have already made reference to the fact that organized labor received the letter very late.
Okay.
That was why they could not attend the meeting. However, all is not lost. They have also written asking for a meeting next Tuesday. So let us hope and see.
But it doesn't look like the minister is aware of it.
Well, if the minister is not aware of this, it might be that he is a deputy minister, but he is not the minister. So it's likely that he's not aware of what his boss has received.
Okay. So what should we expect going into Tuesday?
Let us see. Between now and Tuesday, when the strike continues to bite, it is likely that government will take a second look at his position.
Now, listening to the labor unions, they feel that government has erred in certain direction. I mean, talk about the tier 2 pension scheme for that matter. They feel that that particular law should be looked at. I mean, government obviously should have done due diligence. Do you side with them on that? And how easy would it be for government in reversing its stance on that?
If government concedes that it has erred, I do not think that in the interest of this country and to relieve the suffering of Ghanaian masses, it will take too much for them to recoil and concede that we have made a mistake and going forward, this is what we are going to do. Organized labor is insisting that its position is right, that the scheme, according to the law, is privately managed pension. It's a privately managed pension. So why should government would want to, as it were, insist that either the whole scheme is made by a particular private operator or some structures need to be put in place again with government having, its majority on this board. These things are not, helpful. Let government conform to the letter and spirit of the law and come to the negotiations with good faith so that this matter could be resolved as early as possible.
And for the labor unions, exactly what kind of posturing should they go into this meeting with?
Organized labor has a constituency that it has to conduct. And this constituency are the large numbers of public sector workers, some who will be going on pension on 1st January next year. And their concerns, how are these members going to fare? Has the money that has been contributed, has it been invested? How has it been defined? Has it been invested and what returns have they yielded? That will enable their members to enjoy a good measure of retirement income security. These are the things that are weighing on their mind. What is weighing on their mind is whether government, with the experience with SNIT, where it owes about 800 billion OCDs now, how can they trust government that it will be better, it can better manage pension funds? These are pension funds that are going to provide for security for workers who are going on retirement. And I think that it is better that the workers themselves have a say in how it is managed.
I want to thank you very much, Mohamed Afum, for talking to us. He's a labor expert. Let me bring in now the president of the Coalition of Concerned Teachers. Now, he failed to show up at a meeting organized by the Employment and Labor Ministry. Listening to Baba Jamal, he's furious. He doesn't understand why you would want to do that.
That is quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate that the deputy minister should be furious because we didn't turn up for the meeting. First of all, let me say that these issues didn't start today. It started right from 2012 when we started pushing for full implementation of the second tier.
We know the genesis, but why didn't you show up at the meeting today?
The invitation from the ministry wasn't properly done. You recall that when we met on Tuesday, we told the general public that 12 unions have come together to organize, to form what is called the forum. And so you can't just select some few unions and say that they should come. So the very first invitation that came to us selected about 4 people. They made specific, inviting 4 unions.
Now, how big a deal is that? There are 4 people out of the 12, 4 groups for that
agree
matter,
with me
out of the 12 have been selected. Look, let me tell you what's happening. Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, lots of patients were turned away because doctors were not opposed. Now, the nation is beginning to feel the heat, literally, that comes with your strike action.
My brother,
and you're telling me that 4 out of 12 did not show up for that reason? You didn't go to a meeting that will end this?
No. First of all, you need to understand the situation. We are 12 different unions from different constituencies that have come together to form the forum. And our basic aim is to make sure that our second-tier pension scheme is implemented properly. And then we resolved at the forum that any time government is ready to meet us, they have to meet the 12 different unions. Do you understand? It's not just 4 people representing.
You agreed on this.
We agreed on this principle. And when the invitation came, we communicated back to the ministry that because we are 12, the invitation should be extended to the 12 unions.
When did you do this communication?
Yeah, we did the very first day the invitation came.
When did the invitation come?
That was the day we had a press conference on Tuesday.
Oh, so that very day you had an invitation?
No, it wasn't an invitation as an official invitation. It was a call. You understand? But then we told the minister that there is a need to do everything, make everything official. Then the minister said we should meet at 6:30 a.m. That was yesterday. How do you expect us to meet at 6:30? In any case, I don't live in Accra. We have other union leaders, they live in Tamale, others live in Kumasi, and the rest. And that means that if you are inviting us, there is a need for you to give us an ample time for us to communicate with the union leaders so that we'll be able to come. So the way and manner the Honorable Deputy Minister is talking doesn't even show respect to the leadership of these unions. Let me put on record and let me be emphatic that the Honorable Deputy Minister is not dealing with small boys and small girls. We are talking about union leaders who have constituents, that is public sector workers across the country. And we are talking about pensions.
Right.
We are talking about people who are going on retirement next year.
So the way forward now is what we want. Are you going to meet the ministry?
Listen, we don't take delight in embarking on strike action. We have officially communicated to the ministry.
When are you meeting?
Tuesday. We are ready to meet the minister on Tuesday. If the deputy minister is saying he's not aware of the invitation, he is not a sector minister. He is a deputy minister. We have addressed a letter today to the Minister of Employment and Labor Relations that we are ready to meet the minister on Tuesday. And let me also put it on record that today we have released a statement. This is a copy of the press release that the information that is being touted by the deputy minister is an erroneous impression that is being created. They are just telling people, I don't want to call it propaganda, but what the deputy minister is saying is neither here nor there.
Okay, so tell me, I mean, for anyone who went to Korle Bu or Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital that didn't get treatment because you're on strike, tell us, how positive should anyone be about your meeting with the ministry on Tuesday?
We believe that if we go on Tuesday and government is ready to implement the second-tier pension scheme, make it run, we are ready to succumb to. We are saying that the money that has been deducted for the past 4 to 5 years should be sent to the custodian accounts of the various schemes.
Right.
That is all that we want government to do. Indeed, what government is doing is illegal.
Very well.
Because that is not what the law says. The law says that the second-tier pension scheme is supposed to be run by the workers because it's a privately managed occupational pension scheme. So we don't see why government should say that government want to manage it just like the way it is managing SNET. In any way, if you are doing comparison, compare SNET and other schemes, let me tell you, information that we have gathered even indicate that for quite some time now, government is even not paying the pensions that they are supposed to pay, even in terms of tier 1 to SNP.
So should we be positive about the meeting, yes or no?
We believe if government is ready, that yes, we are ready to remit the money into the second tier pension account. That means the government is ready that we will allow the second tier pension scheme to run.
Okay.
Why not? We don't take delight in embarking on strike. But let me say that when we visited the president, His Excellency, the president made a statement.
We've just run out of time.
Yes, the president made a statement. If institutions that are mandated to look at some of these issues, if they are proactive enough, we wouldn't have gotten to a situation where workers will have to resort to strike.
Okay.
Indeed, we are saying that government should do its part of the bargaining, and we are ready to work.
All right. Thank you very much, Ernest. Ernest Opoku is the president for the Coalition of Concerned Teachers. Now, one other story that we've also been following here on Joy News, of course, has to do